In 1837, 6 indoor swimming pools were built in London. This date appears in every history of swimming, every timeline of aquatic recreation, every encyclopedic entry on the development of the swimming pool as a modern institution. 1837. Britain, the first swimming pools, the beginning of organized aquatic culture. The moment when the civilized world decided that bathing in a controlled, artificial body of water was something worth building infrastructure for. And the date is a lie, not a mistake, not an oversimplification, a lie that requires you to ignore what is buried beneath your feet in every major city in Europe. A lie that requires you to forget that the civilization the British Empire claimed to have descended from, Rome, built aquatic complexes of a scale and sophistication that the modern swimming pool industry has never matched. A lie that requires you to look at the Great Bath of Mohenjo-Daro, a perfectly waterproofed swimming pool built in the Indus Valley over 4,500 years ago, and call 1837 the beginning. I found this by doing something simple. I started looking at what was underground, not in remote archaeological sites, beneath existing cities, beneath the streets and buildings and parking lots of the cities that claim the swimming pool is a modern invention. And what I found beneath them was water engineering so advanced, so extensive, so obviously designed for exactly the purpose that the modern world claims to have invented, that the lie isn't just wrong. It's architectural. The evidence is literally beneath the buildings that house the institutions that teach the lie. Start with Rome, because Rome is where the scale becomes impossible to dismiss. By the 4th century AD, the city of Rome contained over 850 public bathing facilities. 850. Not private baths in wealthy homes, though those existed in thousands. Public facilities, open to every citizen. The largest of these, the Baths of Diocletian, covered over 13 hectares. The Baths of Caracalla covered over 11 hectares. These weren't swimming pools in the modern sense of a rectangular basin with lane ropes. They were aquatic complexes, cities within the city, containing multiple pools of different temperatures, cold, warm, hot, designed for different therapeutic purposes, containing gymnasiums, libraries, gardens, lecture halls, art galleries, restaurants. The Roman bath wasn't a place you went to swim. It was a place you went to live, for hours, immersed in water and culture simultaneously. And the water engineering that supplied these facilities was, by any modern standard, extraordinary. Aqueducts carrying water from sources up to 50 miles away, lead and terracotta pipes distributing water throughout the complex with controlled pressure and flow. Hippocaust systems heating the water and the floors through networks of underground furnaces and hollow walls that circulated hot air with an efficiency that modern radiant heating systems have only recently matched. Drainage systems that carried wastewater out of the complex and into the Tiber through engineered sewers. The entire system, from source to delivery to heating to drainage, designed and operated at a scale that most modern municipalities would struggle to replicate. This raises a simple but critical question. If Rome had over 800 public bathing facilities in the 4th century, what happened to them? The silence was deafening. They were buried, literally. The Roman baths weren't demolished in the way that modern buildings are demolished, dismantled down to the foundation and carted away. They were buried. Over centuries of post-Roman urban development, the ground level of European cities rose. New buildings were built on top of old ones. Streets were raised, rubble and fill accumulated, and the Roman baths, with their massive concrete structures and their intricate water systems, sank beneath the rising ground level. Not destroyed, submerged, still there, still intact in many cases, still discoverable whenever a construction project digs deep enough to find them. Go look at what lies beneath the city of Bath, England. The city is literally named after the Roman bathing complex that sits beneath its streets. The Roman baths of Aquae Sulis, built around natural hot springs in the 1st century AD, were discovered beneath the modern city in the 18th century. The Great Bath, a lead-lined swimming pool fed by natural thermal water at 46 degrees Celsius, was found intact, its engineering still functional after 17 centuries. The water still flows, the drains still work, the pool still fills. A Roman swimming pool that has been operational, uninterrupted, for nearly 2,000 years, sitting beneath a city that was told swimming pools were invented in 1837. As if they were following instructions they didn't fully understand. The pattern repeats with unsettling precision across every city in the former Roman Empire. Beneath Paris, Roman bathing complexes have been excavated in the Latin Quarter. The Terme de Cluny, a Roman bath complex dating to the 1st or 2nd century AD, is partially preserved as a museum. Beneath Trier, Germany, the Barberthermen and the Kaiserthermen, massive Roman bath complexes covering acres of ground, sit beneath the modern city. Beneath Istanbul, the Roman baths, built during Constantinople's imperial period, are scattered beneath the streets of the modern city, discovered and rediscovered with every major construction project. Beneath every major European city that was once a Roman settlement, there are bathing facilities underground, buried, sealed, paved over, their existence acknowledged by archaeologists and ignored by everyone else. But Rome wasn't first, and this is where the timeline becomes truly devastating to the official narrative. The Great Bath of Mohenjo-Daro, built approximately 2500 BC in the Indus Valley Civilization in what is now Pakistan. A rectangular pool, roughly 12 meters long, 7 meters wide, and 2.5 meters deep, constructed with precisely fitted bricks sealed with a layer of natural bitumen waterproofing so effective that the engineering has been studied by modern waterproofing specialists as a model of ancient technical achievement. The pool had a sophisticated water supply system. It had drainage. It had steps leading into the water on both sides. It was surrounded by colonnaded walkways and private changing rooms. The entire complex was designed, built, and operated over 4,500 years ago. Pull up the archaeological photographs yourself. Look at the Great Bath. Look at the precision of the brickwork. Look at the waterproofing. Look at the drainage channel that carried water out of the pool through a corbelled drain that is still intact after 45 centuries. This isn't a hole in the ground that filled with water. This is a precision-engineered aquatic facility built by a civilization that the official history barely mentions and that most people cannot name. And Mohenjo-Daro wasn't alone. The Indus Valley Civilization contained multiple cities with sophisticated water management systems. Dholavira, Lothal, Harappa, each showing evidence of engineered water storage, bathing facilities, and hydraulic infrastructure that suggests a civilization for which water engineering wasn't a luxury but a foundational technology. A technology that was developed, refined, and deployed across an urban network spanning hundreds of thousands of square kilometers, 4,500 years before the modern world claims to have built the first swimming pool. The deeper I went, the more I found water engineering of extraordinary sophistication in civilizations that the modern narrative treats as primitive or ignores entirely. The Minoans. On the island of Crete, roughly 1700 BC, the palace of Knossos contained a bathing complex with running water supplied through terracotta pipes, drainage systems, and what archaeologists have identified as flushing mechanisms. Not a swimming pool in the recreational sense, but an engineered aquatic facility with water supply and drainage infrastructure that wouldn't be matched in Europe for over 3,000 years. Ancient Egypt. Pools have been excavated at multiple sites dating to the 2nd millennium BC. some clearly ceremonial, some clearly recreational, all showing evidence of engineered water supply and drainage. The pool at the temple complex of Karnak, the pools in the gardens of wealthy estates depicted in tomb paintings with such specificity that the dimensions and the water supply mechanisms can be reconstructed from the artistic record. The deeper I went into the global archaeological record, the more I found that sophisticated water engineering, including the construction of artificial pools for bathing, swimming, therapeutic, and ceremonial purposes, was a feature of virtually every major civilization in human history. Mesopotamia, the Hittites, the ancient Chinese, the ancient Persians, whose paradise gardens, from which the English word paradise derives, featured elaborate pools and water channels. The Khmer Empire, whose temple complexes at Angkor included massive water management systems with pools and reservoirs of extraordinary scale. The Maya, whose cities contained engineered reservoirs and bathing facilities. Every civilization, every continent, every millennium, water engineering, artificial pools, bathing complexes, built, operated, maintained for thousands of years. And the modern world says swimming pools were invented in 1837. Here's where the story becomes specifically about what happened in Europe between the fall of Rome and the supposed invention of the swimming pool. Because the Roman bathing culture didn't disappear because it stopped working. It disappeared because it was stopped. The early Christian church campaigned against public bathing. Not immediately, not universally, but persistently. Over the centuries following the Christianization of the Roman Empire, the Church's position on public bathing hardened from ambivalence to hostility. Public baths were associated with paganism, with sensuality, with the culture of the body that Christianity was replacing with the culture of the soul. The naked body in water was a site of sin. The bathhouse was a site of temptation. The elaborate Roman bathing culture, which had been one of the defining features of Roman civilization, was reframed as decadence, as corruption, as everything that the new spiritual order needed to replace. The pattern repeats with unsettling precision across the medieval period. Bathhouse closures, bathing prohibitions, the association of water and the naked body with spiritual danger. By the late medieval period, bathing in Europe had declined to a degree that modern historians find difficult to comprehend. The same civilization that had inherited over 800 public bathing facilities in Rome alone had, within a few centuries, largely abandoned the practice of immersive bathing. The pools were buried, the aqueducts fell into disrepair. The water engineering that had supplied an entire civilization with clean, heated, flowing water was allowed to decay beneath the rising ground level of cities that no longer valued what the infrastructure provided. And then the plagues came, the Black Death, epidemic after epidemic sweeping through a population that had abandoned the bathing practices of its ancestors. The medical establishment of the time, such as it was, blamed water, not contaminated water specifically. Water. The belief that water opened the pores and allowed disease to enter the body became medical doctrine. Bathing became dangerous. Water became the enemy. And the last remnants of European bathing culture were suppressed by a medical theory that was exactly wrong. Water wasn't the vector. The absence of water, the abandonment of the hygiene infrastructure that Rome had built and that Christianity had dismantled, was the condition that allowed epidemic disease to flourish. The deeper I went, the more the supposed invention of the swimming pool in 1837 started to look less like an invention and more like a recovery, a slow, partial, incomplete recovery of a practice that had been suppressed for over 1,000 years by a combination of religious prohibition, medical superstition, and the physical burial of the infrastructure that had made it possible. And the recovery was incomplete, because the Roman bath wasn't just a swimming pool. It was a social institution, a public health infrastructure, a civic space that combined water therapy, exercise, education, and community. in a single complex available to every citizen regardless of wealth. The modern swimming pool is none of these things. It's a commercial facility, a private amenity, a recreational product available to those who can afford membership or admission. The Roman model was public. The modern model is private. The Roman model was therapeutic. The modern model is recreational. The Roman model was universal. The modern model is exclusive. The recovery didn't restore what was lost. It commercialized a fraction of it and sold it back to a population that had forgotten what its ancestors had for free. I'm not telling you that modern pools should look like Roman baths. I'm telling you that artificial swimming pools have been built by every major civilization in human history for over 4,500 years. That the Roman bathing infrastructure alone exceeded anything the modern world has built in scale, sophistication, and public accessibility. That this infrastructure was deliberately suppressed by religious and medical authorities over a period of centuries. That the physical remains of these facilities are buried beneath the cities that were told swimming pools were invented in 1837. I'm asking why the most sophisticated public bathing culture in Western history was dismantled by the civilization that inherited it. I'm asking why the water engineering that supplied entire cities with clean, heated water was allowed to decay beneath streets that now struggle with water infrastructure built to lower standards. I'm asking why the swimming pool was reinvented as a private luxury when it had existed for millennia as a public right. I'm asking, what's beneath your city right now? What pools, what pipes, what drainage systems, what engineering that was built to last millennia and that has been sitting in the dark beneath your streets since before your civilization knew it was there?